In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the learnings from my book called Do Lean Startup Methods Work for Deep Tech, which was recently published by O'Reilly. The proceeds from the sale of this book go towards funding the channel. So by buying it, you're actually helping to fund the channel and therefore keep these videos coming. And I think the book is much better than my videos because in the book I can really go into more detail. So go and check out the description below. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with some definitions. What is Lean Startup? It is an approach that emphasizes validating business ideas in the earliest stages through experiments, rather than spending lots of time and money building something that nobody wants. The Lean Startup methodology consists of 4 steps: build, measure, learn. Build something, measure how well it does what it's supposed to do, and then learn from the results. Apply what you learned and then repeat the process again and again until you get it right. It's all about reducing waste and delivering customer value quickly. So if you're not familiar with the term deep tech, I describe it in the book as companies whose technology is core to their business and are usually solving big problems. These problems often cut across multiple industries. I also describe them as having high technical risk and high market potential. Examples include things like artificial intelligence, space exploration, quantum computing, biotechnology, blockchain. If you're not sure whether your company is a deep tech company or not, ask yourself this question. Would the outcome of your next funding round change if your technology doesn't work? If the answer is yes, then you're probably a deep tech company. The companies I talk about in this book are ones that I've seen firsthand. Some of these companies have gone on to be quite successful and others have failed. So the question I set out to answer in this book is, do lean startup methods work for deep tech? As you might imagine, I have an opinion on this and I share it in the book, but I will share it here too. The answer is sometimes. I know that's a cop-out, but it's true. To explain this, I'll take you through 5 chapters of my brain. Chapter 1 is where I talk about the differences between deep tech and other kinds of businesses. And one of those differences is that deep tech companies tend to have longer sales cycles. They be harder to sell to because they typically selling to large organizations who have to undergo big internal processes before they can buy your product. The way you validate a normal startup idea is by talking to customers and asking them to pay for your thing up front. But when you have long sales cycles, this is almost impossible. This is why I recommend that deep tech startups focus on thought leadership and establishing credibility through publications, patents, conference talks, and other means instead. Chapter 2 is all about experimentation for deep tech companies. Because deep tech companies have such long sales cycles, they can't rely on feedback from customers early on. Instead, they need to experiment with proxies that predict future success. An example of this could be a prototype that demonstrates your technology works, or something like an alpha or beta version of your software. The problem with doing experiments for deep tech companies is that they're hard and expensive to pull off. Unlike a normal startup that might validate their idea with a landing page and a few $100s, deep tech startups often spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of effort before they can run any experiments at all. This is one of the reasons why so many deep tech startups fail. It takes so long for them to get to the point where they can validate their idea. And by that time, they've run out of money. Chapter 3 talks about pivots and how important it is for deep tech startups to be able to pivot early if their initial idea isn't working. But there's a cost associated with pivoting. Your team will lose morale because people will feel like their previous work was for nothing. Customers might walk away because the new thing you're reproposing is different from what they originally signed up for. And investors will get nervous because they like to see consistency in the way a company is executing against a single vision. All of these are valid concerns. But sometimes pivoting is necessary, especially if the experiments you ran in Chapter 2 don't go to plan. Remember, pivoting doesn't mean giving up on your original idea. It just means changing direction slightly so you can test a new hypothesis. Chapter 4 of the book focuses on metrics, and I go into lots of detail about the types of metrics that deep tech startups should focus on. There are two kinds of metrics. Leading indicators are metrics that predict future outcomes. Lagging indicators are metrics that show you what has already happened. For example, the number of experiments you rerunning per month is a leading indicator because it as something you can control and is likely to lead to success. Sales bookings is a lagging indicator because it as something you can't control and it only tells you what has already happened. Focusing too much on lagging indicators can cause problems because you might make decisions based on something that has already happened rather than focusing on what you can control. And finally, I discuss anti-metrics. These are metrics that are harmful to track because they cause people to behave in undesirable ways. I'll give you an example. Let's say you run a team of salespeople and you decide that everyone gets a bonus if they hit their targets. Hitting a sales target could be a good thing. You might think that a salesperson would work hard to hit their sales target. But let's say that the sales targets are unrealistic. Then what might happen is that the salespeople start gaming the system. Maybe they fudge the numbers, or maybe they find creative ways to hit their targets without really selling anything. In this situation, hitting the sales target becomes an anti-metric because it causes people to behave in undesirable ways. Finally, in Chapter 5, I talk about some best practices for managing metrics in deep tech companies. The most important thing to remember is to have a small number of actionable metrics. Having lots of metrics is confusing and demotivating. Everyone knows that Steve Jobs used to manage Apple with just 3 metrics. He wanted to know the number of Mac and iPhone users, the number of songs being played on iTunes, and the amount of revenue being generated from each product line. That's it. 3 actionable metrics. Let me wrap this up by saying that I do think the lean startup methodology works perfectly for deep tech companies. But there's a lot of value in the principles behind it. Deep tech companies just need to be aware of the challenges they face, including long sales cycles, expensive experiments, the need to pivot early, and the difficulties with measuring progress. By understanding these challenges and taking steps to mitigate them, deep tech companies can put themselves in the best position for success. I hope you found this video useful. Go and check out the book. The link is in the description below. Buy the book, help fund the channel, and read all about my thoughts on this topic. And if you'd like to dig deeper still, you might want to check out my course called Deep Tech Entrepreneurship. The link is in the description. It's a free course on Brilliant, and it asks all about the skills and knowledge you need to start a successful science or technology startup. Brilliant is an online learning platform with courses in science, computer science, and maths. All their courses have interactive visualizations and come with follow-up questions, and I particularly like their engineering and computer science courses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.